Okay.
I always introduce myself as Nathan for the first time.
Yeah.
Because there's no confusion on the
Right.
name.
Yeah.
Nate is so short and quick, and like I said, sometimes I'll mumble, like, huh? And I have to repeat it so much, so I always, like, first time say Nathan. And if I have a friend around that hears me say that, they do not let that go. Like, oh, you're Nathan now? And I'm like, dude, come on, man.
A better life, better vision, what you wanting, let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story, come on. Choose the better story. Hey, choose the better story, yeah.
So welcome
All right.
back to another episode of Choose the Better Story podcast. My name's Ryan and I'm the host. This is a podcast about vision, mindset, performance, and purpose. And I've got a longtime friend with me in the studio, Mr. Nate Johnson. Thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So Nate, a couple things that I've known Nate about. First of all, we played sports together when we were in high school, and we went to high school together.
Yeah. We played some sports, probably, at least maybe against each other, younger levels,
Yeah.
too, right?
Yep.
Soccer and what other sports going on in Paradise. Yeah.
Yep. Small town. And now we're going to be talking today about, your experience as a coach, and you're in the cooking industry as well. Let's just start off. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what are three things in your life that you're most proud of and why?
Three things most proud of. Definitely, number one, being a husband to my wife, Joy. 16 years married, 19 years together. And just that kind of understand being proud of that relationship that takes a lot of work.
Sure.
As you know, being married for so long, a lot longer than me too. So I can lean on you for some later advice. But just that hard work and communication that needs to go on, continually to work on a relationship, which is also true for just everyone's relationships with just people you might be acquaintance with, coworkers too. It takes work to do that, with a partner, and like you said earlier, like we were chatting earlier, like a partner in crime, but someone who's just always had your back, even though they've seen you in your lowest of lows and your highest of highs, and definitely proud of that. Proud of being a coach, mentored young men, kind of going up through the community I grew up in. Most definitely proud of that. And then lastly, being in an industry of service as far as feeding people. Mm-hmm. I didn't really realize that until I was like, wait, I do serve people. I'm in an industry of service and helping people, make their bellies feel good. And the beauty of food I've always was drawn to me is how it brings people together. Uh-huh. You're probably more likely to go to an event at someone's house, even though someone there you may not like. But if you know the food's going to be good, you'll probably still show up. You'll be like, my mouth's full for about a half hour. I can kick out, So I've always loved that aspect, the social aspect of food, and bringing people together. So
absolutely. When you think back to your high school years, were there influential people in your life during your high school years that you're grateful for?
I would say both my parents, my mom worked full time. She was a nurse in the OB department at Fifth River for the majority of her career there. Worked full time, always managed to wake up early and cook me breakfast. I don't want to sound like an entitled little lazy kid. I mean, I actually had, when I got a little older, was like, I didn't like it, but I loved it. She was always able, always making sure there's food on the table, even though she worked full time. She worked a lot harder than my dad. Sorry, Dad. I'll let him know that. But my brother and I used to tease my dad for his job.
Yeah.
No, keep that in there. Amplify that. But she taught me a lot just about hard work and sacrifice. Yeah. And then my dad, also very influential. Don't think he ever missed a game I ever was played in. I think he's missed a couple meets when I ran cross country. He was there at every single thing, took time off to reorganize the schedule to make sure he was there for everything. And I think, he would have been, these days, he would have been teed up and probably kicked out of most gyms. But still happy that he was there.
Come on, ref.
Well, that's just a warm-up. He did that in the bathroom before the game started just to warm himself up. He was, and then the ability to have confidence in being embarrassed, I think, is what I got from my dad, and his sense of humor the most, which I love. To have that kind of confidence to fail a little bit,
sure,
in a sense, and not necessarily fail, but confidence to make it kind of a butt out of yourself. You know, it's like, it's okay. It's okay not to take yourself that seriously.
Yeah.
And to kind of put your ego aside a little bit. And so I love that about him and his sense of humor, and still love that about him.
And you're in the coaching space. Did you have any coaches when you're in high school that like you think back and like, man, this person made a real impact on my life?
Definitely Russ Neal, who is my best friends. I grew up, his son Dave Neal and we introduced ourselves as saying we've been best friends. We've been friends since before we knew we were friends.
Yeah.
We were playing together since we were like 2 years old. And Russ was always a second father to me. And then when I got into high school, he was a teacher at Paradise High. I never had him as a teacher, but had him as an assistant basketball coach. And he was always in that realm of coaching. And then even when I go just hang out at Dave's house, Russ would always have questions for me that were deep questions for a kid in high school that, I never got from my parents. My dad or mom never asked me stuff, but it's like self-reflective questions like, hey, I notice you like this, so why are you going to do this? Or you're good at this, why would you do this? And those things that I never took time to be like, oh, someone's actually interested in stuff. And it made me really self-reflect on myself and in what I do and how I did. And he was such a great mentor in that. I mean, the guy assisted coach to everything at Paradise High.
Yes,
never got a dime, and was probably the best coach at that school at the time. I mean, his level of patience, his knowledge. I remember he would open up the gym, the high school gym after church, and me and Dave would go play him and a couple other older guys. And Russ worked me in the post, man. Like just tear me up. That's where I learned my post moves was from Russ. So, but yeah, definitely a huge mentor. And still, he was texting me this season during the coaching year about games and stuff. He came to one
just
of the games
still supportive.
Too. Still supportive. It was a Durham game. Durham was undefeated in the league. We're up 15, blow the lead, of course, losing overtime. But it was a great game, and I had forgotten that we had been texting earlier in the day that he was coming to the game. You get in that coaching mode. You're like in the moment. So everyone leaves. I'm always making sure the bench is cleaned, and up for the next time. I kind of turn around. There's Russ standing right in front of me, and I was just like, oh. And I was so happy because even though we lost, it was a great game. You got to see our guys kind of fight and battle, and the crowd was lively too. So it was really special to see him there and still seeing him text. And I know he's sad his grandson is playing soccer and not basketball for me. So maybe next year, Rylan, if you're out there, this is a recruiting video.
That's right.
Sophomore year, come play basketball. No.
Come to the light. Yeah, that was my experience of him as well. Just you have all kinds of coaches, and for me, Russ was the guy that I knew he always deeply cared about me.
Yeah,
always deeply cared, and it's crazy how something as simple as that makes a tremendous impact. When you look back. And so, I'm not surprised he's still showing up at your games and still supporting you. That's just his MO.
Yeah, he was great. And he was your quarterback coach, right? Was he QB coach for you?
Yeah, he's all sorts of coaches. I played golf for a year.
Right.
He was in golf.
Too,
you're right. He was assisting almost everything.
Yeah, everything. And was knowledgeable about all those things. There's a lot of people who assist certain sports just to kind of help out a little bit, but yeah, just the great knowledge of the game and just a great person. Like you said, you knew he cared about you. Like with those questions, just asking about it. There's certain nuances you can know, especially at that age. That coach cares about you. You're not just a number or a name on their roster. It's really cool. Yeah,
when you think back to your high school competitive years, are there a couple of memories that you'll kind of always remember, like from your high school years of competing?
I mean, of course, winning section championship, and I hate to be the one beating the dead horse all the time. I always didn't want to grow up to be the old guy. Well, my dad, we won section, but we haven't won it since. So it's
been a long drought.
You got to listen to me at least. Something I'm saying has got to be true. I mean, I've won something. North section championship. And that team. Both our classes were so talented. Even the class above yours too. Super talented group of kids coming through. And even losing to the state championships in the first round and giving them their toughest competition that year. Yeah. And I think I told you that story that we had another teammate of ours, ran into that coach, and he told us that was you guys were the best team we played all year. And so knowing that, and then also thinking about one of the greatest athletes to ever come through Paradise High passing away in high school,
Yeah.
and not being on that team.
Right.
I mean, it gave me in one horrible way more of an opportunity to play.
Sure.
Definitely a huge memory. Beating PV is just so couldn't have happened to one.
Can you say that one more time? That sounded so good. Just saying
beating,
that.
Gracie, can she hear this? Can Gracie beating the Vikings, watching them, a couple tears come down.
They were beautiful tears.
They were beautiful tears. It was one of the ugliest games probably, but man, I want to. Do you have video? Do you have video of that game?
If I did, it burned.
Torched up, right? Yeah, I know. That's like everything. I'm like, I'm wondering. I'm trying to find it somewhere because I remember they used to like give the actual VHS. Google that, and then give
You're
that
really
out
aging
to
us right now.
Yeah, it's like it was like that thing. But yeah, definitely one. Another one would have been, and I don't want to be like all these like accomplishments like individual. The one thing for me, I almost going to give you three here because one is sophomore year running cross country. I got in the top 5 or 7 for all league. Mm-hmm. So I got all league, and I wasn't expected to. And that was back when they just did like one race, and it was the all league race,
right.
And I'd always been like a distance runner. My dad had run like every day after work, and so I was kind of run, but I was good, but I wasn't great. Mm-hmm. But finishing in getting all league as a sophomore was really cool, especially to see the excitement and how proud my dad was at that moment for me. Was something I had never seen up until that moment. So that was like, for me, I was kind of like, I didn't win. I was like more thinking it that way. I was like, oh, I guess I finished all league. That wasn't a big thing for me because it was like, well, I didn't win. But he was super proud, and Seth Roberts, the coach, he was like, what? Where'd this come from? And so that was definitely.
Even your coaches were surprised.
You've been goofing off all year, and you now decided to run. But I would say another one because I more like the memories of like teams. I mean, that's what draws me to basketball, and that's why I didn't take cross country too serious or track. Team sports, accomplish something with other people, beating Ponderosa, and that was my senior year.
Yep.
They came in as the #1 ranked team in Sacramento, undefeated. And we beat them at our home tournament, first game. And a lot of our guys, this is back when we would house some of those players that come to visit. And that night, that whole team, all their parents took their kids out of all the homes that were staying with us in Paradise and got them hotels for the rest of the tournament. They were so upset. And I love that because I remember them having some big guys. And I mean, they were a good team, but we're scrappy.
Yep.
We're a scrappy bunch of kids who just play defense, and we're all 6 feet tall.
You're investing every year your time, energy, and attention into coaching basketball. What is it like to be a coach in the town that you essentially grew up in?
It's super. I think it's super cool. It's one of it's what drew me to come back to coach was because it was my hometown. Mm-hmm. I didn't go out and I live in Chico now. I didn't want to go out and put feelers out in Chico. That would be like, ugh. I don't know what I could do it. And just going back to reinvest in your community is something that's huge. Having both my parents, my mom was a nurse up there, kind of, a job of service, right? A nurse taking care of people. My dad actually worked for the Department of Rehabilitation. He worked with the blind and developmentally handicapped to get them jobs and work. So, and also in that service. So I got to see that a lot from my parents. And then going back to coach was just like, I always wanted to, even right out of high school. And I remember a couple times when I'd moved away to Santa Cruz, but I'd come back for a couple of years. I'd reach out to whoever was coaching at the time up there. Never got any responses back, and no one. I was like, okay, they still remember me, so I got to wait longer, So I was like, finally,
you got to fly under the radar.
Yeah, I got to look them up. Wow, those books don't exist anymore. We don't know who this guy is, but so getting asked back by Cleek, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Jerry Cleek, was just awesome and perfect timing for me. Mm-hmm. And to do it back in the community that I grew up in is like I would never want to do it anywhere else because I think that's what drew me to it in the first place. And that's me giving back to the community I grew up in and seeing all these kids. I know where they've been through. I know where they're going. What they're going through, living in that kind of a rural community and town of Paradise, and so. Wanted to give those kids as much as opportunity and belief in themselves
Yeah.
as they move forward and
Sure.
conquer this crazy world.
What would you say is like the most difficult part about coaching basketball?
The most difficult, meeting parents and players or expectations. I wouldn't say meeting, I would say managing players and parents' expectations. Players a lot easier. You know, kids that age, they're more self-aware than you think, and they understand it, and they're willing to take hard truths.
Yeah.
Because I think they know, and if you're honest with them, they're gonna respect that and continue as long as you stay in communication with them.
Yeah.
But you know, parents is a different story. They're not at practice. I'm not coaching parents.
Yeah.
I wish I could sometimes. just a little bit, parents. But managing their expectations, and that goes along with just being communicative to the kid.
Yeah.
When they go home and they're at dinner and parents are asking them questions, why aren't they playing? Where you stand on the roster, making sure that kid has something you've told them that they can tell their parents.
Yeah.
That makes sense, you know, not just, I don't know, you know, you don't want that to happen because then the parents are going to go, oh, well, why now?
Right.
And then they're going to see, you know, I'm doing JV basketball now. It doesn't look like, half the time, it doesn't look like anyone should be playing on my team. It's like, why is that kid playing? I would say that about every single kid, any single moment, you know, why am I putting that kid out there? But that's just, you know, understanding and managing their expectations is pretty tough, but as long as the kid has your back, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Make sure they have your back, or at least have an idea of where they need to go. And you know, kids, we live in our minds a lot too, adults even, but kids especially, you know, even when you just pull out 5 kids to come out and demonstrate something, they automatically, all 5 kids, they think they're the starters, and everyone else on the baseline thinks that they're the starters, and why am I not the one out there? Even
All sorts of thoughts are going through their head.
It could be day one, and you don't even know the kids' names yet.
I just picked 5 guys, man.
So it's like understanding that and making sure the kids, you know, they're not in their head too much, and letting them know what your thought process is a lot.
Yeah.
So they don't have to guess what you're thinking. They kind of go, oh, okay, coach, I may not agree with it, but at least I know that's what he's doing and why he's doing it. So
what would you say is like the most rewarding part of coaching?
Just watching kids overcome everything and anything, and watching their growth is the coolest thing. And doing varsity for 6 years, I think 6, and now coming back to JV at that freshman, sophomore level, which we started together, or I started with, luckily with you. How it was a bit of relearning and understanding that I get to see that growth a lot more exponentially than I do at the junior senior level. Most players are kind of where they're at already, you know, for the most part, and they'll you know, improve in other ways. But to see that from a young kid's perspective, I mean, and then see them grow is the coolest thing by far. Yeah. And so rewarding. And I didn't think what was gonna draw me to coaching, and that's what's keeping me there now. When I first got there, it was like, I want to bring another championship back to Paradise. You know, that was my mentality kind of going into coaching. And now going in and now I just like, man, I want to see this kid achieve something. You know, I want to see him be able to start using his left hand or actually go to class. Yeah. You know, whatever it might be, certain kids. I mean, this year I had a couple kids with, like, they're called these truancies, or like absences, tardies. They were in their 20s. Okay, they had 26 of them, 28 of them. You could only clear up 1 or 2 a day. There's Saturday school once a month. You can clear up 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I already had heard stories about a couple of these kids. I'm hearing them from admin, teachers. Dude, before the season started, they were down to 0. They were played. One of the kids led the team in actually rebounds and scoring on our last game of the season. One of the hardest kids I've ever seen play. And it was just so cool to see that. Yeah. And be like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I even told him, I didn't think you could do it. Yeah. I was like, that's crazy amounts to get that down, and the kid just boom, knocked him down every single day. Hey coach, 1 to 2 today. Hey coach, knocked 2 down. And I was just like, this is so cool. And it made sense when you see the kid play. Right. You're like,
it mattered to him.
If you took that and you focused that energy on anything you do, dude, you can accomplish all kinds of things with that mentality. And so getting him to convince that, you know, he's probably not going to be an NBA player. Right. But the kid he was getting like great grades in science. and then like failing PE.
You're like, come on.
It's like that stuff. You know, it's one of those things like this kid needs to be challenged. And I thought I'm so glad I went back to coaching this year because to have a chance to coach a kid. I think there's a certain kind of coach that he needed. And I'm glad. I think I was that style for him that motivated him. He didn't even play last year. He was a sophomore this year. And it was fun to watch. Yeah.
Have you ever made an epic fail as a coach that you'd be willing to share?
That's all I do. If you talk to the parents, that's all I do. Yeah. Epic fail every single game. There's so many. I mean, I'm so hard on myself. It's hard to get a good night's sleep when I lose.
Yeah.
And mainly, and that's how I am with food too and cooking too. I'm very hard on myself and having to find that balance to not, be hard on yourself, but also keep it in a healthy area, in a realm that, you're not dwelling. But, oh man, I'm sure there's times I could have taken time out to play the kid. But one of the things would be forgetting about a kid that you thought you wanted to have play a little bit more that game. Yeah. Maybe he was performing really well in practice that week. Maybe that kid in that 9-10, depth chart.
Yeah.
And you're like, he deserves some minutes. I want to get him some minutes. And then you get through the game. You're like, hopefully I didn't tell him I was going to play him. And, those are the things that I feel like that hurt more than like me calling a stupid play or something like that. I can live with that. And that just comes with time and I can overcome those things, but forgetting about stuff like that, like playing a kid who I wish I would have played. Yeah.
Something I want to mention, just because I'm not sure who all is going to be listening to the podcast, but you mentioned...
Well, when they see my name, not many.
When they say my name, it's not many either. Yeah. You talked about your dad made time to be at all of your games. And that was my experience too. My dad was in the stands. He was cheering. Yeah, he might have been heckling the refs every once in a while. When I look back on that, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. In fact, in the job I have in the solar industry, I'm really busy and the time is demanding. But I had made a commitment. I will be at my kids' games. And I actually stopped coaching basketball in Paradise because Gracie got into volleyball.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be the type of dad that wasn't present when they were competing because I know how big of a deal that was to me. And I just want to mention this because if you're a parent and you ever wonder if it makes a big difference that you're there to see your kids compete, the answer is yes. Even if they act like it's not a big deal if you're there or not, your presence there matters. It really does. And I can speak from my experience. You talked about it from your experience. The many years that I coached, there's been a few seasons where I went through the entire season and never saw a parent of a player the entire season. They never came to a game. I never saw them after practice. And I was just like, man, that's got to be devastating from the player's standpoint.
Oh, you mean an individual kid on the team,
right.
not the whole team.
Not the whole, yeah.
That happens so much.
I know, it's wild. And it could be because, the player is saying, don't come.
Yeah.
But parents, if you're listening to this, I just want to encourage you, be there anyway. Be present anyway. Because people remember stuff like that. Yeah. I remember stuff like that. And I talked to several players who have an experience of, former players, they remember their parents never being in the stands. And that also has an impression. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening, I just recommend be the person, or be the parent that is there and present, whether your kid's playing or not. Just be there.
Most impressive parents are the ones that you see that it's the kid last on the depth chart, and that parent's there at every single game.
Right, and supportive.
They're supportive of everybody going out there. They don't question anything you're doing. And that is like one of the coolest things you ever see. You're like, that's just people like caring outside of themselves, and that's huge. I mean, that's what I hope these kids, get some of that to, move forward in their lives with.
Let's talk about the uniqueness of you coaching basketball in Paradise, California, which is a town that got burnt to the ground by a wildfire. What unique challenges are presented to you as a coach trying to lead these people who've had their world turned upside down? What is unique about being a coach in Paradise?
I think because of that, everything's unique. You know, everything has a nuance of that campfire, and then compounded right back bookend with COVID.
Yeah.
You know, and those are two harsh things that happen, and you still see it now as I'm coaching kids now, because I'm thinking about this. Okay, this is 2018, so this is like 6-8 years ago. How old were these kids? And a lot of kids grow up with certain traumatic events that in their lives. Usually, you get, usually sometimes you coach a whole year and you don't know that some kids have had some experiences. Yeah. Then some other things like bubble up and you can kind of see them. Right. It's maybe 1 or 2 kids, max a year.
Sure.
Now, I mean, every year since then, it's every kid I got on my team has had this, and it's affected them all differently.
Right.
In ways, that you have to kind of be like, I'm not a psychology major. Although working in the food industry and coaching for so long, I kind of feel like it. But
you got a PhD.
Yeah, I got a PhD somehow. Yeah, someone give me a PhD. But yeah, everything is nuanced with that. Yeah. And then now we're starting to see the community build back up. So now you're getting the dynamic of the kids that didn't live through that, that are now Paradise residents.
Right.
And how does that dynamic affect, the team, the players and stuff? And maybe it doesn't, and maybe it does. It's hard to kind of gauge that. But I mean, yeah, everything you kind of wonder, where's that kind of coming from? Like, I've definitely seen a lot more kids kind of lose their cool in moments.
Right.
Which happens, but in ways that are a little like, this is a little different than what I remember.
Yeah.
And so trying to understand that and managing those things is huge. It's huge. It's tough. Do
you have like a proudest moment as a coach? Like something you feel like you're always gonna remember, you're gonna take it to the grave?
Just seeing the kids grow up, like now, like seeing your son who I coached, like graduating college, now soon to be getting married. It's like seeing him just grow up to be young men and being good young men is what makes me the proudest. And just seeing kids overcome things throughout. Maybe it's that season, maybe it's their high school career as they keep getting older and older. That stuff is what makes me the proudest. I mean, the wins are fun. Wins are great. But I always say that's the byproduct of a good program and a good culture. Obviously, big highlights would be winning league for the first time in over a decade. Yeah. The year after the year of the campfire.
Right.
Weeks after it.
That's incredible. Never had a home game.
Never had a home game. Never had a home practice. And to do it with a group, that was my first group that I coached as freshmen. So, and they were now seniors, and we were assistants on that team. But it was, that was a community coached team.
Yeah.
They had so much on their backs, and to see those kids just grow up to be young men within a season, within like a month, was so impressive. Most of the adults didn't handle it as well as those kids did in the community. Yeah. And that was so impressive to see. Yeah. But yeah, to see the kids just kind of grow up and be good young men I'm the proudest of that. Yeah. If I had played any role in that, that makes me proud. So there's a couple things I like to say in practice. I'd say the 2 hardest things to do in this world is to love and forgive. And I want the kids, and those 2 things, if you have those 2 things in you, especially as a teammate, you're a great teammate, man.
Yeah.
When you can forgive your teammates for whatever it might be, on the court, off the court. Yeah. Right? We don't have to be friends outside at school or in the social aspect in high school at that age group, but you got to be teammates, and to be able to love and forgive is so huge. And I just to have that kind of instilled in the kids as they grow up, to just be kind of more understanding. I use the referees a lot as a reference. These are things you have no control over, right? And things that happen in your life. You're going to have so many things you're going to have that you have no control over that are going to frustrate you. And you just have to kind of learn how to accept them to a certain extent, maybe forgive them. I've forgiven a lot of referees for the 5th foul they've called on me, all 472 of them. But and they have that love too, which I always, the word passion's thrown around so much these days. And I always go back to John Wooden, his saying where he said he doesn't like passion because passion is fleeting. Yeah. Love endures. And love the game, love your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it might be, your family. because that's work.
Yeah.
You got to work at that.
Right.
And and that's the beauty of a good relationship. So these kids can kind of have some good relationships as they get older. Some people have a lot. Some people just have 2 or 3, but make sure you have some good quality relationships in your life that you can really count on people, and they can count on you too.
You spent several years kind of overseeing the whole basketball department at Paradise High, and then took some time off, and then you've come back. What's the reason you came back? What brought you back to PHS?
Well, the reason I stepped down first was just work was getting a little consuming, and then now in retrospect, I think I just needed a break from coaching in general.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing for people to take a break from whatever it is, might be their career or whatever they're doing. You kind of hit that stagnation level and take some time away to kind of reflect and look at it. And I didn't realize how much I missed it till that following basketball season came where I wasn't coaching. And I'm just sitting there at home bumping a lot, and I was kind of depressed. I was just kind of like, I can't golf.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that would, now I'm like, oh, that's why I coached, because I couldn't golf. I wanted to do something in the winter, but missing that, I just didn't have that outlet of that kind of that other level of mentorship that also helps me in my work as well. And having that void just it got me. It was sad. I was sad, and so to get back into it. And then knowing it was some of my friends that I grew up with, kids are at that age level and that group coming through was another reason kind of getting me back in there.
Get to make an investment there.
Yeah, get to make that investment in the community. And then going back at the JV level was definitely where I'm loving it. Don't have the time to run a program, varsity level, at the extent it should be ran. Having to remember that age group now, it's fun. I can do a lot more like fundamental stuff and getting the kids like skill levels up higher at a quicker pace, I think, at that level. Whereas at varsity, they're pretty much set in where they're at, you know. Yeah. And getting back up to good old Paradise.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. And you're in Chico, so you commute to practice every day. So you're giving of your time there. I just want to just encourage you there. That's super awesome that you're giving back to the community that invested in you. Yeah. Coaching's not your only gig, and coaching, we both know that doesn't pay the bills. So you're also involved in like the restaurant, the food, cooking industry. Like, tell us how you got involved in that. How long you been doing that?
Oh man, I question myself. Why did I get into this thing? Almost every day, but because it's a very demanding job with very slim margins, and anybody who's been in the industry knows how difficult and cutthroat it is. But I was just graduated high school. My brother-in-law. I was going to apply at another throwback, how old we are. It was a video store where you can rent videotapes. Okay.
Google it.
It wasn't on TV on demand. We didn't have on demand. And at the time I was like, I was getting a job at the video store. I thought it was kind of cool. And then my brother-in-law was like, hey, why don't you learn a trade? Like, I can get you a job in the kitchen down here in Chico. And I was like, well, all right. And they didn't call me back for the video store, but I got a foot in at the kitchen at a place in Chico. And from there on, it's kind of I've just always had that in the background. And it was more of kind of like, okay, this is just an ends to a means here, like get me through college.
Yeah.
I got a job I can always fall back onto, and I was going to pursue teaching. And I just ended up kind of, as I kept going on and off with school and getting teaching, I had a lot of friends of mine that were in the education, and I'd start hearing some stories and horror stories and stuff. And at one point, I think it was a bunch of people getting pink slip. Is that what they call it?
Pink slip.
Slips,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
the uncertainty.
The uncertainty, not knowing, no matter how good you are, or how hard you work, you can still like lose it. In the private sector, it's a little different. You rely on your hard work to get you to where you need to go. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather have that feeling, because I don't know if I could deal with all the other stuff going on. And so I kind of always was working in restaurants. And I was like, you know what? Saw the angle as I got to like a manager level. It was like, oh, this is kind of like teaching. Mm-hmm. I do have this outlet now, and I just kind of gave into it. But looking back as a kid, once my mom had told me, I'm at home after school and I want to make myself a snack, it was toast, toast, toast. You know, I guess, can you just make some toast? You know, like, man, after toast, I was like, you know, I'm getting tired of this toast thing. Got up in the cupboard, started looking recipe books, and this is probably like junior high, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I remember being homesick, I watched Yan Can Cook, Martin Yan on PBS. Man, that was the coolest to see stuff he's cooking I've never seen before in my life, and I'm just like enthralled. And I was always an adventurous eater too, when we go out and eat.
Yeah.
So like in reflection now, I got into this. I'm like, oh, there was a little bit of a calling back then, you know, that I had like some food, some stuff that, you know, drew me to food. So, yeah.
Have you ever in your career made a brilliant mistake? Like you messed something up, but it actually turned out to be better than you ever intended?
Hiring Evan McCutcheon. No. I was going through all the kids I could have named, you know, I could throw them all in there. No.
I mean, with food ingredients, not people.
No, I think, you know, it just like in coaching, right? There's so many mistakes that you make on a daily basis, but some of those have turned into brilliant ideas. And any great thing that's on a plate has had about 30 mistakes to it prior to making that onto the plate in the first place, you know. So
failure's a part of the process.
That is definitely part of the process. But one story I always like to tell, because I relate this to the kids I coach, you know, you make a mistake. I always say, like, it's not about the mistake you made, it's about what you do after the mistake, how you act. And we had this one restaurant, we were making chocolate truffles, and we would roll them in roasted almond, like crumble or dust, we'd call it. So we'd roast the almonds, crush them up really fine, and then roll the chocolate truffles in them. So they had like a little coating. You know? At one point, someone's doing it in the kitchen, and I can smell he's making coffee. I walk over, and it was like, no, they're chopping up the almonds that would burnt to a crisp. I mean, these things were charred. And I was like, wait, you rolling these? And they're like, here. It's like, no. And then I was like, this aroma of coffee. So I designed like a dessert that had the coffee grounds they weren't burnt to that level.
Yeah.
But they were really roasted, and I would steep it in a French press with almond milk, just a little bit. And then we had our chocolate truffles on the plate and some other garnishes, and you just pour in some of that. So it was almost like a coffee, but it was the roasted almond. Yeah. So you got that flavor in the broth and everything. And I'm big into, especially more as I get older, eating dishes with your hands more.
Yeah.
You know, it's kid like, let's not take our food too seriously. Like, I'll make it real pretty, but just eat it. You know, but that was like one of those moments where you're like, you never know what a mistake can turn into.
Yeah. What kind of things are you proud of accomplishing in the food industry?
The kind of like the culture, the team.
Yeah.
I really love kind of forming the team and putting unexpected people in that realm. The industry's got this, especially, I think it's kind of dying out a little bit more now, but it had this like rock star vibe to it. You know, the tattoos on the arms, no tattoos, you guys.
You don't fit.
No, yeah. All, you know, like, hey, you know, we're this like subculture of like cool dudes and stuff. And by dudes, I mean, it was predominantly men and stuff. And I always liked having some different types of elements in the kitchen of different characters and different people from different backgrounds and different stories they came from. And seeing them commingle and work together and accomplish things, and letting them, giving them the room to fail, and make mistakes and make them feel comfortable at their job. Because I feel like that's the best way to get the most out of your employees, is to make them feel as comfortable as possible and know that they feel important and they're a part of it. Not every employee is going to be the greatest worker. You're never going to have 10 of the greatest workers all working together in the kitchen at the same time.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a weak link, you know, and there's always those grumblings. Like someone goes, oh, we got to get rid of that guy. He's the weak link. I was like, well, if that's the weak link and we leave him, who's the next weak link? That's going to be someone else. You know, so I just love that kind of building that culture that I like, and not taking yourself too seriously, the food too seriously. Although I always say we respect the food. Yeah, we definitely respect the food and the people who grow it for us. But definitely building that culture of a good team that's definitely different than most kitchens you'd walk into, I think.
Yeah, and if that's the case, how would you describe yourself as a boss? Like, what's a
big
word?
Goofball.
Goofball.
I say that this, you know, our job as managers, and I say this to other managers that work with me, is that our job is to make sure that our employees that work, I hate to say underneath us, but people like doing the work, they feel supported, and they feel like they're being seen. They feel like they're important. And that's what I think, is like what strive to do the most. We're in the service as managers. They're not there to serve you. We're there to serve them.
Yeah.
And to get that, and they'll respect that too, especially, and then feeling that no job's below me, like cleaning up a spill, mopping, cleaning toilets, whatever it might be. Yeah. They see you do it. They respect that.
And it's crazy how much people notice things like that, that you work with. At the solar company I'm a part of, I'm one of the owners, and I'll go take the trash out. And to me, taking the trash out is not that big of a deal, but it's amazing how many people have actually said that they've noticed that I take the trash out. And I don't even think twice about it. It's like, it's full. Like, somebody's got to take it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But like they pay attention to stuff like that, right? And if you lead from the front in that way, people will be like, okay, well, if he can do it, then I can do it, right? Now, that's not the reason I do it. I do it just because it needs to get done, but people do pay attention to stuff like that.
Yeah, imagine if you were the guy who told someone to take the trash out.
Right.
You'd be looked at completely different in that environment. Like,
the recurrence of you would be a lot different.
Hey, Billy Bob, take the garbage out. And you get back on your phone,
So you got these two, they're vastly different. You got coaching and cooking. How do those two like relate to each other?
That team, working in the team is the biggest. That's the relationship, because when you're in the kitchen, everyone depends on each other. Everyone needs to kind of hold each other accountable. Whether you know it or not, someone is depending on you showing up to work that day and pulling your load and your workload. And if not, then everyone's got to kind of pick up slack for you. And then, there can be some animosity to that and stuff like that. So, but making sure that team is the biggest thing, and teaching. So I love teaching basketball, and I love teaching people how to cook.
Yeah.
And inspiring people to cook. It's so cool to see like some people now that never, even though I hired them, I knew they weren't cooks, or like now I see them sending me pictures of what they're making at home. Yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of it, but it's all right. I'm still like, and half the time the way my brain works is like, oh, why would they garnish it with that? I would have, yeah. But I'm like, oh, no, just heart emoji instead of that, and then seeing just other people too, like seeing them cook is so cool. And then related to basketball, it's the same thing, teaching kids how to overcome some stuff, or how to acquire some skill that they didn't know they could do. And instilling that belief in them, whether it's coaching or cooking, when you know that someone kind of believes in you, that gives you a little superpower. You feel a little cool about yourself.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Coach Ryan Wright, Executive and High Performance Coaching. What if one conversation could change the direction of your next 3 years? If you're a leader, entrepreneur, or high performer who knows you're capable of more, but you're not totally clear on the path, let's fix that. I'm offering a free vision call where we will get crystal clear on where you are and where you want to be, and what's actually holding you back. No pressure, no fluff, just clarity and momentum. Book your free vision call now. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the show. I just want to commend you, Nate, because we've been able to coach together. You coached my son, and I've been able to see the type of investment that you make in the community, which I've always admired, but I hadn't really known what you do on the food side of things until you hired both of my kids to work for you at Stovall. And it's incredible. Like when you talk about culture, my kids come home all the time and they tell me about the culture there in the kitchen. Oh no, it's good. It's good. Okay. And they just have, like, you're making memories with these young people, and they're impressionable. They're learning a lot. Does everything go in the kitchen great every single day? Of course not. But overall, do they feel like they're a part of something fun and a great thing? Absolutely. My son, Jackson, graduated Chico State. He's now like with an engineering firm in Chico, and he's doing great. I'm really proud of him. And at dinner last night, we were talking about Stovall. And like one of the things that he said is like, I'll never have a job that's as fun as those years. He got to work with his former teammates, his buddies, his old coach. And so it was just a recipe for good times. But it also could have been, quite frankly, it could have been a miserable experience working with his teammates if the culture wasn't important. And so, well done for like making that the foundation of what you're about, because it affects everyone's day in a positive way. It affects their work in a positive way, or negative, right? If it's not a good, if it's not a good culture. So I just want to commend you for that. We're laughing because my daughter wears a shirt around that has pictures of your face, pictures of your face on it. It was Jackson's, and she stole it from him. But yeah, she'll roll out of her room every once in a while wearing that shirt, and it just like, it makes me laugh. But I was like, only somebody that would be a part of a cool culture would actually take the time to put their boss's picture on a shirt and wear it around. And so I just want to commend you for that. That's really awesome. Good for you.
Super embarrassing. But thanks to my dad, I don't care about being embarrassed. I love it. No, it is super cool. I mean, work is work. We all got to do it every day. You know, let's try to do it helping each other out a little bit and having a little bit, a little more lightheartedness to it.
Yeah, you might as well have some fun.
It might as well have some fun. I mean, come on, what are we all really doing here? I mean, there's some important jobs out there. I'm not going to commit. I pay attention to those ones, But there's also a majority of us, we can be working together a little bit, and be more patient with each other, be a little more understanding with each other, make the day go by way better. So much fun seeing those kids grow up now, coming in college, and those years now, so different. Seeing me from Coach Nate to Cook Nate, is definitely a big difference. I tend to curse a little bit more in the kitchen than I would, with the exception of this year in basketball. I don't think I've cussed more in my life in basketball than this year. But thank you. It's awesome having those kids work. And
I mean, you mentioned earlier like Russ Neal making a big impact on your life. Yeah. I mean, Jackson's putting together his, the list of who he wants to attend his wedding, and you're right up there at the top. Like, how cool is that? A coach and a boss is like, this guy, I want him there to be a part of my special days. So again, well done for making that kind of investment in not just my kids' lives, but several people's lives. That's really awesome. So good job.
Yeah. Well, great kids. You got great kids still too.
They are good kids.
You Nate, what are you up to? Too.
What are you up to now? What's going on in life for you now?
I'm not doing anything.
Right. No.
Yeah, right. We're now at Stovall. We've started a restaurant group, and we're in the process of kind of formulating that and getting that together, and we're in the process of opening up a few other places. So we have a restaurant that's going to be opened up with alongside a kind of a wholesale production kitchen working out of the back of that, as well as we have another like cafe lounge that's going to be opening up in the same kind of area that the restaurant will be. And so,
is this all your idea? Or are you working?
No, it's not only. I'm part of the culinary manager. Was that what I was calling it? I was trying to figure out some weird name. But, at this point, I hired a chef. Well, I didn't say but we kind of as a group hired another chef who's come in and has been absolutely phenomenal. Nerdine has been just an absolute angel and for us. But to come full circle, like, I hired a chef. That was weird. That used to be what I always applied for. And so it's kind of it's completely new to me, and kind of refocusing my life from being, I'm not in the kitchen as much as I like. I still have to kind of not force myself, but put myself in an area like I got to get in the kitchen and feel a knife in my hand and cook and still keep my my skill level at least up there. But I'm doing a lot more of kind of like just passing everything on to everybody and teaching and doing this and teaching that. And so that's been a little change for me. But I'm old, man. It's about time. I'm the oldest one at work, which is the first time ever in my life. So we're expanding there and doing that stuff, which is right now it's kind of like a little lull as we wait for construction, all that stuff. But it's soon to just be, bonkers here within the year or so. Yeah.
Who would you say are like the most instrumental people in your life right now as it relates to cooking or the restaurant industry?
Yeah, I mean, instrumental. I mean, my wife Joy has definitely been very instrumental in just keeping me kind of balanced, and always, she's got, we share the same core beliefs. And
would she smack you if you didn't say it was her? Or?
She would smack me for any reason. She doesn't need a reason. She's done it and said it, any reason. I'll be like, okay. If the Warriors only were a little bit better, you would be a little bit happier. But
didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Joy has been, she just kind of my like kind of grounding, you know.
Yeah.
She's there, keeps me grounded and focused on the core beliefs, and kind of like, hey, keeping that work-life balance, and keeping me humble.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been huge, influential in my life now, especially as we grow old together a little bit. You know, we don't have kids. Another reason why I got into coaching, you know, we both are in the food industry. Having that parents that showed up to everything.
Yeah.
And being in the food industry, that was going to be real difficult if we had kids. And so kind of one of those things that kind of we thought about is like, you know, will we have the time to invest in our kids like that? And then we both kind of fell in these little mentoring roles that we were so rewarding to us that we thought we can kind of give back, and another aspect that's fulfilled us there. But yeah, I mean, Troy's definitely influential. But now these young kids that I see like growing up, I mean, it's coming full circle. Seeing Jackson do what he's doing is influential, you know?
Yeah.
And just seeing these kids grow up and seeing that they're influencing me, whether they know it or not. It's been awesome. Still my parents. In their 80s, shouldn't be driving. Please don't drive anymore. But still seeing them, they're doing what if you see them around your neighborhood, buddy, I'm telling you, run inside quick. Yeah. But just seeing them, their day to day, what they're doing still to this day, is definitely influential.
When you see the phrase there, choose the better story, what comes to mind? Like when you hear that phrase, what pops up in the mind?
Well, I've been cheating and paying attention to the podcast, so I kind of have a little, you know, inside scoop there. But I love your sense of perspective on things, and how you can, the same situation, you can look at it in a multitude of ways, and how it can affect your day in and day out, and you know, how you approach life. And I love that. I love that idea. But you know, to kind of also add on top of that is like understanding other people's stories that they've chosen, right? And whether we're getting cut off at the intersection, you know, they might be going through some stuff that you don't realize is going on. And, you know, and to kind of keep those things in perspective with other people's stories, and how, you know, we're all going through this life, struggling, overcoming, having great days, having horrible days. And we cross each other's paths all the time.
Every
day.
Just,
and just to take that moment to be like, they might just be going through it right now, you know, and just giving other people some understanding of understanding their stories, I think is something we miss a lot right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are very into themselves and how everything affects them, and not realizing how everything you do affects everyone else too at the same time, right?
Is there anything else you want to communicate that has to do with either coaching or your experience cooking that you feel like would be value for people that are listening?
I feel like I'm a coach, so I'm long-winded. I see that glaze over people's eyes and be like, is Coach still talking? And they have to come in at halftime like, we're starting the third quarter. No, I think we've hit everything. It's so awesome to catch up and chat with you.
Yeah, it is. It's always good to see you.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing. So, you know, for those of you that have been listening, we've been talking a lot about, you know, how we have the choice every day to put a hero's cape on. We're like the captain of our own ship. And I just, again, want to commend you. Like you're making the most of your story by investing in, not just in Paradise where you grew up, but also Paradise, a town that was like decimated. And you're like reinvesting back into those people. Yeah. And that's what wearing a cape looks like for you. Like I use the term like local superhero. And when people hear that, they kind of like deflect it like they're not. But like when I think of Nate Johnson, I think that Nate Johnson is a local superhero. You're investing in your local community, growing young men to be, you know, mature adults and impacting this world, but also like providing value to people every single day in the restaurant industry, and by providing good food, great culture. I also want to say, I want to commend anyone that's listening that is a coach, because nobody that's a coach is doing it to make lots of money, unless you're like the high up elites. The average coaches in the communities are not really making anything. They spend as much on gas during the season as they actually make in, you know, whatever your stipend is. And so if you're a coach and you're listening, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thanks for what you're doing in the community. Whether the players say it or not, whether the parents say it or not, you are making a tremendous impact, and you're taking like it's a real sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of your time, energy, attention. And sometimes it brings out the best in us. Sometimes it can bring out the worst in us.
Some of the worst words coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. And so, but in all seriousness, thank you for being like a local superhero that's invested to the people in your community. I think that's really awesome.
Thank you.
And I know you're a busy guy, so thanks for hanging out here for a bit.
Of course.
And as we head out, just want to remind you all, you have the potential to be a local superhero too. So dust off that cape if you haven't put it on for a while. Put that thing on and go out and make something special happen this week. You got it.
A better life, better vision, what you wanting? Let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story. Come on. Choose the better story. Choose the better story. Yeah.